One of the questions that people are asking about Charlie Kirk's assassination is why? Why exactly was he assassinated? It is true that he had this huge lead on men to the Republican Party, making them conservative with his debates. But was that enough to grant him a bullet? Is that how that works? I was asking this question, and then I got this suggestion to take a look at some clips of him while talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And when I saw the clips were way more not only about Jeffrey Epstein's activities, but the possible connections with intelligence agencies over the world. And MOSSAD popped up, and we have two clips. This one was from 1 month ago, right?
Do you think there's any intel community involvement in this?
I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I am convinced, based on my own sources and my own reporting on this story, he wasn't one of ours.
So he was an American, which leads basically three options: MI6, Saudi, or Mossad.
Yep.
Which one would you choose?
I guess Mossad, given his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell.
So what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's possible that that's the reason everything's getting buried, that there is some treasure trove.
How many people here believe that? Raise your hand. Okay, I'd say about half the hands think that it's being buried because of an Israeli thing.
The one time Pam Bondi was asked a question about this at the cabinet meeting, she was like, and as for whether he was an agent.
Alexander Acosta in 2007, he said he was told to treat Epstein carefully because he was an intel asset.
Well, and let me tell you the consequences of that. His subpoena, his search warrant on Jeffrey Epstein's residence was very narrow. It was not the kind of like, let's get everything. Let's see everything inside this guy's, dressers and so on. It was very, very narrowly tailored. And to this day, that's what the FBI is stuck with.
Okay, that is maybe a bit too limited. It was just a conversation with Megyn Kelly in public, and it was mostly suggesting and maybe asking Megyn Kelly what she thought about the topic. I said that, okay, that is maybe not enough. But then I saw this one from the Charlie Kirk show. This was 1 year ago, 2024, January 4, 2024. Charlie Kirk correctly identifies Jeffrey Epstein as an agent of Israel. Let's also watch this.
Lies that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics.
I have heard those reports that Epstein himself was not that smart, that for a physics teacher, right? Okay, he could be of a very limited understanding of the topics that the people that he surrounded himself with dominated. So maybe his true knack, his true ability was getting people together, or get to connect people, what we know as networkers. Maybe Jeffrey Epstein was a great networker, and at the same time, a networker is a very useful asset if you're an intelligence agency, because that's a way that you can connect people with people and say, hey, you know what? But Charlie Kirk said that much better than I in the rest of the clip.
It's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
So this one question that I have, I said mistakenly that this clip was from 1 month ago. It was actually from 2 months ago. July 12th, 2025, when he was talking with Megyn Kelly about the topic. One thing is 1 year ago in January 2024, but one thing is right now when Trump is in office. You know how the scandal of all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff and how Trump has addressed it and whatever Pam Bondi has done with that case. It has been, uncomfortable to see all the shenanigans happening. But then you see that just 2 months ago, Charlie Kirk was still having conversations and inviting his guests to have conversations about the possibility that Jeffrey Epstein was not just a random guy who knew how to connect people to one another, which is basically a human LinkedIn. But no, he was actually an intelligence asset. So I know that Charlie Kirk was really emotional when Trump became president of the United States. So the part that I don't understand is why does he keep bringing this up? And my only theory about this is that he really believed that this had to do with some kind of intelligence agency, maybe from the United States, maybe from the MI6, maybe from the Saudis, but in his own words, highly likely from MOSSAD, Israeli intelligence. So why would he kick that hornet's nest 2 months ago? And knowing everything that was going on with the recording, with Dan Bongino just sweaty on those interviews, Kash Patel going back and forward and back, Pam Bondi just doing all that kind of crazy stuff. That's the thing that he wanted. He really wanted to get to, let's say, down the rabbit hole. They could find all the truth. As Megyn Kelly said, the treasure trove that may be laid somewhere, or at least he was curious about that. The problem is that what do they say about cats? Maybe curiosity killed the cat. I am just having crazy theories in here. But I could understand the timing of Charlie Kirk saying this in 2024 when Biden was in office. It was a bit different when Trump was in office, and Trump was it is still trying to say, hey, you know what? This is just a bunch of documents fixed, contaminated by the Democrats. And that's what he says when it's a hoax. But if you say that Epstein was some kind of asset, that complicates things a lot. Again, this is still in developing. We still want to know who shot Charlie Kirk and why, and understand their motives, because, well, this was, of course, this is a political assassination. There's no doubt about that. But we want to know who was the shooter and who hired the shooter. Sadly, at this point, it is highly likely that the shooter is going to appear dead somewhere. And we wouldn't even have a real confirmation that whoever they find is going to be the shooter. So we'll still have to wait. I would really love to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and bliss.